I paid for her life, then found out about her wedding after it happened.
I found out about the wedding from a sentence that wasn't meant to hurt, but it did anyway. We were standing in her apartment doorway, sunlight cutting across half-packed boxes when I asked about dates. I'd been careful not to sound like a man afraid of being left out of his own child's life. She barely looked at me when she answered. She said it had already happened. Yesterday. Just for special people. The words didn't register at first. My mind tried to reorganize them into something that didn't erase 22 years in a single breath. I asked her to repeat it, hoping I'd misheard. She didn't. She just shrugged, already turning back inside. As if the conversation was finished, and so was I. I raised her from the time she was small enough to fall asleep on my chest. I paid for everything without complaint because that's what you do when you love someone. School, clothes, doctors, braces, a car when she got her license, and college tuition when she said she wanted a better life. I stayed when her biological mother disappeared and only came back when it was convenient. I stayed when it was hard. I stayed when it was thankless. I stayed because I believed that being present mattered more than being appreciated. Standing there in that doorway, I finally understood how wrong I'd been. I didn't argue or demand an explanation. I just said I understood and walked back to my truck. I sat there for a while, hands on the steering wheel, feeling something inside me go quiet. Not anger, not sadness, just the sudden absence of illusion. That night I opened my laptop and looked at the life I'd been funding without question. Rent payments, insurance, phone bills, subscriptions, tuition balances I'd cleared so she could start fresh. It added up to more than money. It was dependence disguised as love. I realized I had been supporting an adulthood that didn't include me, so I stopped. Not out of revenge, but out of alignment. I didn't announce it or make threats. I simply canceled what was no longer appropriate. Adults who choose their own families can support their own lives. That was the boundary I set, calmly and without apology. It took a week for the phone to ring. Her voice was frantic, angry, confused. She asked why her rent hadn't gone through, why the landlord was calling. I told her the truth in the same tone she'd used with me. I said I assumed she had special people who could help now. I said I didn't realize my role extended past what she was willing to acknowledge publicly. She called me petty and cruel. She said I was punishing her over a wedding. I told her this wasn't about a ceremony. It was about years of being erased quietly until there was nothing left. She hung up. The fallout wasn't dramatic. It was slow and heavy, like gravity asserting itself. Bills don't care about feelings. Rent doesn't wait for apologies. The people who were happy to celebrate her independence didn't rush to fund it. The biological mother who'd been special enough to attend the wedding suddenly wasn't answering calls. I didn't gloat, I didn't interfere. I went back to my life, which suddenly felt lighter without the constant strain of being needed but not valued. Weeks later, someone else uncovered the truth she'd buried. The wedding photos lost their shine when people realized who had been excluded. The marriage cracked under the weight of the deception it was built on. She never apologized directly. I think she wanted to, but that requires accountability. Instead, I heard about her through other people. Financial trouble, a marriage on pause. One afternoon, months later, I stood in front of a new project I'd been working on, a scholarship fund. Just a small way to help students who showed gratitude and effort, not entitlement. I watched one of them thank her parents and mentors by name, proudly. It struck me then that love isn't measured by how much you give, but by whether the giving is honored. I still have the photos. I still remember the late-night talks. None of that disappears just because someone rewrites their story. But I no longer chase a place in a narrative where I only convenient in private and invisible in public. Some people think boundaries mean bitterness. They don't, they mean self-respect. I didn't lose a daughter that day. I lost the version of myself who believed unconditional support meant unconditional silence. What I gained was clarity. And with it, peace. For the first time in a long time, I knew exactly where I stood. Thanks for listening.